Hello, my name is Brendan Robinson. I'm going to be doing just a quick guide walkthrough of how I would process some old data on the Pleiades star cluster. Um, this is some data I took back on January 1st over New Year's night. I haven't gotten around to getting an edit that I've been happy with, but I feel like the data I've gotten was pretty good, so I'm going to uh, jump back into it and see what I can do with the processing this time around. Um, so I'm going to be using Siril and Photoshop. Um, there's going to be a couple things you need. The first being you go to the three lines at the top and then go to Preferences and then Miscellaneous, and you're going to need to download Starnet++. Now Starnet++ is going to separate the nebulosity from the stars and then create two different images, one with stars and one without stars. And to download that, I'll put it link in the description. It is starnetastro.com. And what you're going to need is this command line tool. And then once you have downloaded it to your files, you're going to come back over to the serial, and then you're going to set the directory to that Starnet++ executable. Anyways, okay, I have on my hard drive the folder containing the Pleiades data. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to name the files exactly like this. You're going to take biases, darks, and flats as your calibration frames. And then your picture frames are going to be your lights folder. That's where all of those are going to be set. I've already separated all this data out into folders. I have the lights, flats, darks, biases. I've got roughly 8 hours worth of exposure time. So once you have that, you're going to come over here and click on the home, which is going to set your home directory. And I'm going to come over to my 970 Evo, which is my hard drive that I'm going to be using. Processing guides, Pleiades. And then open, and that's going to set the directory. So now that you have your directory set, um, you're going to come over to scripts, and we're going to do one-shot color pre-processing. My microphone quit working properly here, so I started the stacking process, and I'll cut once it's done. It is completed stacking. Took 3 minutes and 18 seconds, as you can see right there. So now we're going to open, and it will have created a couple of new files, the masters and the process files, and then this result.fit is going to be your new image that will create. And you'll see that this is the linear image. There's not a whole lot to speak about so far. But if we hit this auto stretch, you'll see that there's a lot more detail that previously wasn't there. Well, you'll also notice that in the top corners, you'll see stacking artifacts. I was not using guiding at this time, so there was quite a bit of error. So what we'll do is we'll drag a square. There we go. I think for right now that's good enough. And then you're going to right click and hit crop. And that will create a new cropped image. We can adjust the framing on that a little bit later. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the image processing. I'm going to do background extraction. And then hit generate. And it's going to pull up these squares. And you're going to right click any of the squares that are on potential parts of nebulosity to get rid of them so that it does not take away any of that detail. And then you want to go through and look at all of the squares and just make sure that there are. There we go. Make sure that there aren't any squares that are on stars. Like there was one. That one's okay, it's close. One there. And I'll make a cut. I'm just going to go through and make sure that all of my squares are good. Alright, now I've got my squares all how I want them. So this is going to remove that gradient, so you can see how there's more light coming from the right side of the image. That is likely because I had some, like a street lamp, or the moon was toward that direction. I was also not using any sort of like pollution filter at this point in time. I was just using the Adventurer GTI, that stock Canon Rebel T7, and the 75 to 300 millimeter kit lens, and I believe I was shooting at 205 millimeters. And here's actually a clip from that night of shooting, just with that very simple setup. So, gonna hit compute background, and then that very much evened out the gradient. That's what I was looking for. And hit apply. And then you'll notice that the image has quite a bit of green noise around it. So I'm going to do image processing. I'm going to do remove green noise. And there we go. Gotten rid of a lot of that green noise. Okay. Now we're going to do some color calibration. We're going to do color calibration, photometric color calibration, and then you need to know the catalog number for this target. So this is M45. That's fine. And then it'll usually be the first. So yep, focal length 205. And then you'll want to know the pixel size of your camera, which can be done with a simple Google search. Mine is 3.72. And then if you want, you can do force plate solving, and then that will force it to solve the stars and align it properly. And then I'm just going to hit OK. You'll see that now the colors look a little more natural. Yeah, okay. Whoops. Undo. I did that twice. Close. Undo. Okay. Now we're going to change it back to linear. So this is still what our linear image should look like. And then we're going to do star processing. This is where that Starnet plus comes in that we installed earlier. So we're going to do Starnet star removal. And we're going to need to do pre-stretch linear image. That's going to give it just a slight stretch so that it will take the nebulosity away from the stars. Hit execute. Okay. Now that is done, and you can see that it has separated that nebulosity. And then if you come over here to open and star mask result, you will see that this is just the stars. You can see that that looks pretty wonky. We'll come back to starless results. Open. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start stretching it manually. We could do an auto stretch, but I'd like to start with the ASIN? ASIN? I don't know how to pronounce that. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the stretch factor slider until we can just start to see the nebulosity. Right there should be good. And hit apply. And then we're going to come over to histogram transformation. We're going to bring the midtone in, and you'll see that it starts to bring out some of that dust. And then we can do right here, bring the black point, move some of those midtones over. You don't want to clip your data, that's important. The random squeaks you were hearing, by the way, I have some pet parakeets. I do want to highlight some of that surrounding dust. And I think, for me, I'm going to leave it right about there. And click. Now, there's a couple ways you can edit this. You can go to color saturation. You can change. Okay, you can adjust the saturation. I like it to be a little more blue, so we'll set it. Not too crazy. somewhere around there. Just a subtle difference. And then what you can do is I'm actually going to save this. Hit save. And I'm going to go to Starnet Result. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. I'm going to do it the first way, where I'm just going to do the ensign anything like so. Here I am applying a slight stretch to the star layer so that I can save it for later processing when I am recombining the nebulosity with the stars. And get rid of the halo slightly. I'm going to do right about there, and then I'm actually going to save as. I'm going to do a TIFF save. 16-bit, because Photoshop can't use that 32. Well, it can, but we need to edit it in 16-bit. Okay. I'm going to reopen that Stardust result. And I'm also going to save a TIFF version of that. 16-bit. And we're going to go into Photoshop. There's TIFF. There we go. And then we're going to do some work in here. So first thing you want to do is duplicate that layer. And then I like to use the color sampler tool right here. And I'm going to set it on what should be the brightest part of the image. So it'll be right there. And anywhere where it's dark, it'll say there. And it'll pull up these values up at the top right, where we can come in and then do Control L. And we're going to balance out the levels a little bit. I'm just making slight adjustments to the black point to balance out the colors as I see fit. Right, I actually just used visually the, instead of using the values, I just used the histogram and matched it up as best as I could. Keep that about as natural as possible. And then we're going to say levels balance. And then Control, Shift, Alt, and E to create a new layer. And then I'm going to come over to Filter, and then Camera Raw Filter. And you can go through and do little adjustments, like change the contrast. I'm going to bump that up a little bit. Don't want to blow out the highlights too much. I'll set it at maybe 10. And shadows. See what it does. I'm going to bring those down slightly. Bring the lights up slightly. Then move the blacks down slightly. Okay. And that's all I'm going to do for that for a minute. And then what you can do, if you want to change the colors, you can do select color range. We're going to do sampled colors. Come over here and use the color sampler tool on the nebula. And we're going to change the fuzziness. Get as much of that nebulosity as we want in there without it selecting too much of the background. I think right about there should be good. Then we're going to do select and mask. And you'll see your selection there. We're going to turn the smoothness up to 100. Take it a second. And then we're going to do the feather by 10. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then we'll do a layer, new adjustment layer, and we're going to do vibrance. And we can play with the colors a little bit, see if we can get it how we want it. That's a little taking down the vibrance. We can increase it to, let's say, right there. I like it kind of that electric blue color. Put it right there. Okay. And then I know not everyone is going to like this tool, but you'll notice that when we zoom in, we get quite a noisy image. And this artifacting, this will go away once we recombine the stars. I'm not too worried about that. So I use a noise reduction tool called Topaz Denoise. So you come over to Filter and Topaz Denoise AI, and it is a paid program. I think it cost me, I think it was about $70. But you'll see that it really makes quite a difference. The only thing I have noticed that I don't like about it is that it sometimes tends to kind of screw up the background. But I can kind of show some methods for fixing that if that happens in this case. You see that for the most part, it does a really good job of cleaning that up, making it a nice image. If we want, we can do low noise removal. Just kind of play with these settings until to your liking. As with less. I think it looked better with the medium. Zoom in a little closer here and see. Yeah, I like how that's looking. Okay, and then once you've got it to how you like it, you're just going to hit apply. And then we'll go back to here and apply the changes. Okay, looks pretty good to me. And then what we can do to check the background is you can, you can do Control M on a new layer and then stretch it and it'll show you kind of the background. You see that kind of color modeling. So what we're going to do to address that, at least in this situation, is we're going to, I think I'm going to make a slight curve adjustment. So we'll just do the selector tool. We'll come over to the faint part of the nebulosity. We're going to bring it up. And then somewhere on a dark patch, and we're going to bring it down slightly. There we go. Now we can see it a little better. And then what we're going to do, label that curves. Control Shift Alt E, and then we're going to do select color range. I like to do midtones. And then adjust that so it has the entire all of the nebulosity selected. And we're actually going to invert. Okay. Then we're going to do select and mask. And then we're going to do the same smooth 100, feather by 10. Okay. And then that's kind of got the nebulosity one, what you wanted to preserve. And then I'm going to do layer, new adjustment layer. Then we're going to do vibrance. And I'm actually going to turn that down, all the way down. The vibrance and saturation. Okay. And then what that's going to do is it's going to make it so we don't have any of that weird color model. Okay. I think that's about good right there. So now I'm going to show two methods of recombining the stars. So I'm going to come over to File, and we're going to do Save a Copy. We're just going to call it Starless. And we're going to save. Make sure that there's no compression. Okay, and then we're going to come back into Siril, and then we're going to open. We're going to open that Starless that we just made. You see that's quite a bit of a difference. And now we're actually going to save right here again, and we're going to change it to fits. And then that will change it from 16-bit to 32-bit. Okay, and then we're going to open up that new one, Starless.fit, right there. That's the image we're looking for. And then we're going to come over to image processing. We're going to do star processing, star recomposition. And then we're going to select for the first one, we're going to select our Starless.fit. You'll see it pulls it up there. And then for the second one, we're going to pull up our star mask. Whoops, I did it to fit. And you'll see there that then you can mess with the slider. Stretch it as much as you want, and that'll change the stars. Now you could have something like that, and that's not a bad final image. So we can hit apply, and we'll close. And then what we'll do is we'll save as a TIFF, and it's going to save as unsaved star recomposition. I'm going to name it Serial Edit. Change it to 16. And then we're going to open, and then that's Serial Edit. And then what you're going to do is to get rid of some of that chromatic aberration from the kit lens, because it's tube lens, it'll create some of those purple halos that you can see within the stars there, like that. We're going to duplicate layer, and then we're going to come to filter, camera raw filter, and then we'll go to optics. And then I'm going to zoom in here so we can see the main stars that we're looking at. We're going to change this purple amount up. I have to be pretty aggressive with it with this camera. I'm going to change it to 15, and we'll take up the red slider and then down the blue slider. Still has kind of some of that little bit chromatic aberration, but it's not too big a deal. See that that is quite a difference from that. Okay, that's one way to recombine. I'm going to do a second. I think I'm going to possibly even up the curves just a little bit more. Okay, just highlight that dust just a little bit more. And then I'm going to open the star mask result TIFF that we opened earlier. So I've stretched it to the way I want it, but now we're going to go into that filter, camera raw filter, and then we're going to play with some of that. I'm actually going to max it out. I never really liked the way my Canon camera did the stars. It always turned out a little strange in my opinion. I'm going to go to maybe up it just slightly so those stars are a little bit more white. Maybe something like that. That would be a little better. Now we'll do image, apply image. There we go. I like how that looks a little better. Can do either screen or the linear dodge. I think the screen looks better for this one. Okay. And then I like to add a little tag down at the bottom right. I'm gonna do, I usually use somewhere in the gray right there. Okay. I'll do right there. I'm gonna change the opacity to 20. Okay. And I'm just gonna move it to that bottom corner. Okay. And I'm actually gonna hide that for a moment. Duplicate layer. Hide that behind it. And then I'm gonna do a final camera filter. I'm just gonna make any like color adjustments. See if I can get it. And adjust the temperature any way you want. I think I'm gonna move it a little bit more to the blue, like right there. -3, I think that looks a little more natural. I think I'll just leave the saturation on. We can click the eye and see the difference. I like that quite a bit more. I'll do effects, and I like to take down clarity, makes it a little more natural, so I'll do like even -2. I'm gonna play with that. I'm gonna play with the dehaze. I'm gonna come over to detail, maybe do, don't want it to look too plastic. I think we'll set it 10. Bring that up to 10 as well. Not going to adjust the contrast a whole lot. 3 there as well. And turn it up to 5. I'm going to turn up the whites just slightly, like that. And then take the blacks down just slightly. I take the blacks down a little bit more on this computer because I know that it's going to turn out a little bit different on other screens. I'll say okay there. So I can see the change there. I think I like that quite a bit more. Bring up the signature. And then there we go. That is my completed image of the Pleiades. I will show it compared to my first edit when I first started the hobby.